It's like trying to win a car race.
Should be a good one.
And as you're driving, saying, hey, make it run better.
You could have a posse of waifus.
Starting off kind of strangely.
Slaying the land.
Welcome to the show.
This is insanity.
Taking a critical look at the gaming news of the week.
This info is pretty shocking.
Somebody's got to give an answer to this.
This is Augmented Reality.
You are watching my favorite channel.
I've not heard of them.
The Triple S League. Enjoy, guys.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Augmented Reality Podcast, your source for news, leaks, and analysis of games in the gaming industry, coming at you live on YouTube and Twitch, and archived almost anywhere that you can find podcasts. This is Ash here with you, with Saib and Moontag. As always, how are you folks tonight?
Oh my gosh. So I spent most of the long weekend playing Dragon Age Origins, and I'm so invested.
Yeah?
So invested. I'm like not very far into the thing, but so far I'm really liking my characters. Although I'm mostly going after Alistair because I think he's funny.
Yes, I heard a rumor that Bioware used to make good games.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what we were talking about that this morning. It was like, it's a shame that, Bioware is, it's Dragon Age Origins is one of the best games ever made. And it's like, we'll probably never see that again. But then I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if the next one's going to be good or not. They've had 2 reboots or 3 reboots to it now. So they've been toying with the engine a lot. I don't know where things are at. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting, to say the least.
Well, I hope they turn things around. Of course, they have had massive brain drain there with a lot of people leaving and forming other companies or going on to other things. By the way, yeah, no face cam tonight because we weren't feeling like it. That's literally the reason.
I thought Moon was?
Oh, I didn't. Were you? I could put you on if you.
I even had a shower today.
She got all cleaned up and ready and everything.
Oh, I can switch that. I can switch that in a sec.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, no, I wasn't feeling very well about an hour ago, so I was like, oh, even if I'm feeling better, I'm not going on cam tonight. So anyway, yes, Lady Reaver wins the internet for being the first to post in live chat, of course. If you are listening live, please do say hello in the live chat. Send us your questions and comments there as well, and we will read and respond to as many as we can throughout the podcast. And don't forget to slam that like button. It likes it rough, and it tells us in YouTube that you appreciate this content. Of course, if you're listening after the fact on any of the audio-only platforms, we appreciate likes, comments, follows, and all of that on those platforms as well. But we do this live on the Triple S Podcast channel every Tuesday night / Wednesday morning, depending on where you are in the world. And then we also have our main channel, the Triple S League, where you can find all kinds of other content as well. So check it out, yeah. But subscribe here, subscribe over on the main channel, and let's get to the news. So, gonna give this one a brief mention without getting too deep into it. But of course, the Tripwire CEO story. The CEO of the company, a day after tweeting his support of the Texas heartbeat bill ban, has stepped down. And this is just too dicey to really get into. But I mean, that's just to make everyone aware that we are aware of the story, and we are conscientiously not making it a primary topic on this particular show. So
I still have words on it, and the words are directed mostly not at Tripwire, not at him or any of this other stuff, because I find it so hypocritical that, hey, there's some rumors about some bad stuff going on at Riot, Ubisoft, Sony, CDPR, Blizzard, Activision Blizzard, a huge amount. All these rumors about bad activity, sexual assault, devs behaving like they deserve the physical proximity of every lady that they get near. And what's the first thing We know because we've sounded the alarm on some of this stuff before. We've done the digging. We've called up news places and say, hey, we have a story we want to look into. That kind of stuff. I have spoken with other journalists, other YouTubers in the field. You know what I hear from the majority of the time when I'm like, hey, there's something bad going on over here at, Blizzard. There's some shady stuff going on. You know what? It's not really important. Or, let's launch an investigation into it. I mean, let's have a year-long investigation into, this is coming up on 2 years for Riot Games. It's coming up on 3 years for Ubisoft. This stuff is terrible. Absolutely terrible. And yet, these big journos, one in particular, he'll go, oh, you know what? We really can't run with the story about this stuff going on at Blizzard. We really can't do that because, it's not big enough. Now, if somebody commits suicide, now that's something that we can run with. And they sit there and they do that. And then, somebody has a difference of opinion. Oh, they all get out the pitchforks for that. They all get out the pitchforks for that. But they don't get out the pitchforks for, Mr. Bobby Kotick. Nobody's demanding that he resign other than a small handful of people. And it's getting quieter by the day. Nobody's saying, hey, let's run Rimshot on Roughshot. Not Rimshot. That's a totally different thing. Let's run Roughshot over Ubisoft and Riot for their absolute despicable treatment of women. But you know what? Some guy has a difference of opinion. Hey, let's crucify that guy. Gross.
Yeah, it is pretty hypocritical.
Gross.
It is
and every person who's like, we demand, I refuse to play any game. They didn't say that for Activision. They didn't say that for Activision. They said that for this guy, one guy with a difference of opinion. And then everybody else, it's like, nah, we'll let the investigation play out. It's like, okay, all right. Cowards. Absolute cowards. Absolute hypocrites. Again, I'm not suggesting one way or the other, stuff. I don't want to get political. I don't want to raise a debate that's been raging for the last 100 and some odd years. I don't want to get into that, but it's like, good Lord, the people who if they activated this much on Ubisoft and Activision, none of this stuff would have happened in the first place. If they had done this 3 years ago when it started at Ubisoft. Sorry, I know we didn't want to touch it that much, but that's been on my chest for a while. Well,
it's always fun to point out the hypocrisy of
is my microphone really being that bad?
There's this weird click sound coming through every now and then here.
Clicky poppy noise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
I'm
so
gonna turn down the gain a little bit. How's that, Ash? Can you check?
Yeah.
Good. Do I sound lovely?
Well, let's not push.
So yeah,
it.
No, that's
so anyway,
I was pretty pissed off because again, it's like if they had come at Ubisoft or Riot or Activision with this much vitriol, and there was a lot, like right away. Again, I didn't see anybody there were a few that I've heard of, but I didn't directly see anybody in my feed saying, I hope you get cancer at, the people who did this stuff in Activision and Ubisoft and Riot and Sony and all these corporations that have had to shuffle away their secrets. And Ash, you're still muted if you're wondering. You didn't see that level of fury. But again, one guy states a comment on a political matter, a political matter that a lot of people take very seriously, again, on one side or the other. And it's a strong debate, which has been debated about for decades and decades. And like I said, we're not going to solve it here on a single show. So yeah, that's the insanity that is that situation. And again, the reason why I'm pissed about it is a little bit more nuanced, right? It's a little bit more nuanced than what everybody else is saying. It's like
it's the hypocrisy. Yeah, no, I get it. I get it.
It's the hypocrisy and all that.
Yeah.
And
well, and it's just, I mean, cancel culture just getting out of control these days. Anyway, it's kind of we'll just leave it at that. We've talked about it before, but I mean, this idea of you have to, you know what? I'm just gonna leave it at that for now. Let's get on to the stories that we actually have, in our title here today. So there's been some updates with why the RTX cards were some RTX 3090 cards were not working properly. Were actually getting damaged by while playing New World, which by the way comes out next week. Is that right, Seb?
No. It's not coming out. They have an open beta.
Oh, an open beta next week. Okay.
Starting on Thursday. So if you are interested in running this game, you can start picking up the like I said, I mentioned last week, the preload starts sometime soon. So check out Steam. I don't know if it's on some of the I don't know where else it's out. I know that Steam is like the number one place to get it. So pick it up on Steam. Try the game out. It's a free weekend beta. Just download it if you can, if you get the bandwidth. Give it a try. I really want to know what people think of this game. I really want to know. Now, of course, things to remember. It is a beta weekend. Servers are going to be dicey. This happened in their last beta. It was really bad for like 2 days. And then and I was about to quit. I was logging in for the last time because it had been so unplayable for like 2-3 days in a row. And I was like, this isn't, they're not going to figure this out. This is one of the worst I've ever seen it. And it went from that to extremely smooth with only 1 or 2 moments where it was kind of stuttery, but they brought down the servers and then brought them up like an hour later. So again, and I was on a really bad server. I initially rolled on a really bad, very problematic server. It was down the most out of all of them by, I think, almost a factor of 2. So there was a major problem with that one particular server. It was so bad that I rolled another character on another server. But check it out, guys, and just bear in mind it's a mass weekend. That's not really going to be how the game is going to play out going forward, but give it a try. Give it a jump into it. See what you think. I'd love to know your guys' opinion on how it plays, what it feels like. Are you guys interested in this? It feels a lot like Skyrim when I play it. And that's kind of cool. I like it's got the heavy attack, hold, and then it's got the right click for like defend and shield yourself. It's got a stamina system. It's very much plays a lot like Skyrim. It plays more like Skyrim than Elder Scrolls Online does, which is hilarious and very funny. But yeah, I really want to know what the community thinks of it. Hop in there, give me a shout. Hop on our Discord. We're going to try to be on it as much as we can this weekend. If you are interested in this game, please let me know. We are doing a few internal giveaways. So basically we're just kind of like giving out like 1 or 2 copies that we can to people who hang out on the channel and the Discord a lot. So, let me know if it's something that's interesting to you. And I really want to know. Write in the comments. You can always tweet at us. Jump in the Discord. That's the best way to get to know us. Is just jump in the Discord, chat, and have fun, because this might be a cool game. Might be a train wreck. But again, that's what the experience of an MMO is. It's like, oh, are they going to completely, bugger this up, or is it going to be like okay, right? Like, and we really don't know, if the bugs are going to claim the game or if it's going to be a smooth sailing thing. We really have no idea until we get a launch date. It's cheaper than most games right now, and it's an interesting thing to check out. So
how do you get to the open beta? Do you pre-order? What do you do?
I believe that the open beta is literally free. All you have to do is go to the Steam page and start downloading it. I'm really positive that there's no purchase or pre-install. Like, you just go to the page and it'll have like New World open beta, and you just click install, and play. And and again, I don't know when that preload's coming up. It should be coming up sometime between now and Thursday when the game goes live. So that's, less than 48 hours. So at some point it's going to be ready to go.
Okay, keep an eye out for that. So watch the Steam page and get the details there of how you can get into that. And yes, then the planned release date is actually September 28th. So a few weeks from now. We're only about a week away from Deathloop, another game that I'll be getting into. So if you're curious about that, I'll definitely be sharing my thoughts about that one. Anyway, getting back to this story about why it was actually frying the cards, or why these RTX 3090 cards were failing during some people playing New World. And the original idea was that it was the fan controllers on the cards, but apparently that's not actually the case. This from EVGA itself, saying that after they did a bunch of investigating, they said there was some dodgy soldering on the MOSFETs, which is one of the components on the cards. I won't get into all the details on one batch, on a small batch of the cards, and we don't know exactly how many, but apparently this batch of cards made up less than 1% of the total that were sold, but we don't know how many that is. And EVGA even sent replacement cards to affected gamers after the story broke. And they didn't even wait for the failed cards to be returned first. So that's good. Glad to hear that. That's a good PR move and just a good ethical move, in my opinion. So that's very good. So something, it was the cards themselves were faulty, and they've been replaced. So shouldn't be a problem. Now, then again, you probably, if you want to be safe, you should probably cap your frame rate while playing the game.
I mean,
uncapped frame rates
it's just normally a really good idea to do anyway. So,
All right, so that's about all for that story. But we've got a couple of stories surrounding Sony now that we'll talk about. And the first one is the PS4 to PS5 upgrade controversy and what's actually happening with that. Horizon Forbidden West will now get a free PS4 to PS5 upgrade after customer blowback. That's how the headline reads here on Polygon. I didn't actually mean to pull up the Polygon story, but that's the one that I have apparently. So this is a little convoluted, and I had to read through and listen to several videos on it to really understand what was going on here. And it goes to show how complicated buying frickin' video games is with some companies now.
Especially these days.
Yeah, so Sony had this. They had, of course, all these different editions of Horizon Forbidden West you can pre-order. And with some of them you could get, some of them came with, various different types of loot or whatever.
I love the
physical
one that
items.
Came with the ability to unlock photo mode. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, right?
And the fact that you had to buy that's amazing. I mean, I gotta say, that's some ballsy nickel and diming there. It's like, hey, you want to use photo mode? An extra $20.
So dual platform entitlements, is that the term for it now? Because man, that sounds yuppie as hell.
I know, right?
Dual platform.
It's so cheap. It sounds so cheap to say it out loud. It's like, wow, that is really, really terrible.
That just sounds awful. Yes.
It really does. Oh my gosh.
So anyway, the dual platform entitlements were only offered for if you bought the $80 digital deluxe edition or more expensive edition of the game. And there was no upgrade path from PS4 to PS5 at the time. And anyway, cue the backlash from gamers, because Sony had basically promised prior to this that their launch titles would have, if you bought the game, it's not right to say, you get a free copy of the PS5 version. But if you bought the game you would get both versions, basically, of their launch titles. But anyway, that was apparently not the case with Horizon Forbidden West. Until the backlash, and now they're like, oh, we missed the mark, apparently. So now apparently you will get the PlayStation 5 version, regardless of which version you buy. Sorry, go ahead.
So again, this was really dodgy because the announcement went, this game and this game is going to have free upgrades for PS4 to PS5. All you're going to do is log in and claim it. For Horizon Forbidden West is also coming out to PS5. They basically said that. So it was like, yeah, they didn't really say that. They didn't really say it, but right away there was a lot of comments and a lot of Twitter people saying, wow, you guys really need to pick up PS5 because this is going to be a free thing. And at no point did they correct anybody on that for a long time, until they said, oh, hey, you want to upgrade to the PS5 version? Oh, and you also want a physical disc? Oh, and you also want this other thing? Guess what? 200 USD.
Ugh.
200 USD. Okay. I mean, wow. It's a lot of money. And again, this stuff didn't happen until it came, until their headquarters got changed to being in the West, in California. And I really, again, I'm not dishing on Sony fans. I'm not dishing on people who, dunking. I'm not dunking on PlayStation owners. You guys deserve to be treated better. And I've been saying this for a while now. And again, it's not aimed at the customers. It's aimed at their leadership. The people who forced out a lot of the original Japanese owners, a lot of the original Japanese board, and said, hey, yeah, we know how to run a game company better than you do. We're going to take this thing that you built up with love and care, and we're going to just start trashing on the people who support you and buy your games, and the developers who make this like very niche content for your stuff. They're treating you like a joke now. They're treating them like a joke now. And it's insulting. As gamers, you should be upset, but at the same time, it doesn't necessarily mean that, you're bad for having done it. Because again, we had a big kerfuffle about that a few years ago. I'm not calling you guys bad for having to go this way, but it's clear that this is the way that Sony's going more and more and more. And if you're going to continue going with them, you should know that and be prepared for what that's going to bring you when more games are coming out with a price tag of $200. So yeah. Terra K, that's Horizon Zero Dawn. Yeah.
And I just want to clarify, and there's another point we need to make about what Saib said there, but I just want to clarify, it's not that it unlocks photo mode, it unlocks a photo mode pose and face paint. And
the way a few people were
I know
it.
Because it's worded on their infographic, it's worded very strangely. It says photo mode unlocks, which sounds like it's saying it's unlocking photo mode, but it's saying it's using unlocks as a noun, not a verb. Let me just bring it up here and I'll show you what I mean. For those of you. So
please.
Yeah, so you see here on, hang on. So here on the infographic on sort of 2/3 of the way between Saib and Moon's avatars there, it says photo mode unlocks, but then underneath it says special pose and face paint. So
still for $20.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I just want to clarify that it's not that. At least if I'm reading this correctly, and I was reading an article that interpreted it this way as well. Mm-hmm. It sounds like it's unlocking stuff in photo mode. It's not unlocking photo mode if you buy the special super deluxe version. But still, it is worded very strangely to the point where I almost wonder if they wanted people to think that you would only unlock photo mode if you get the upgraded version, because that's kind of how it reads here, right? Photo mode unlocks. So that is kind of misleading, I think. Regardless, so you get, special photo mode, pose, whatever, etc. But here's the issue with this. They have backtracked and they have said that now, you get the free upgrade to the PlayStation 5 version, regardless of which version you buy. But in the same statement, the CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment, Jim Ryan, he said in the same statement, he clarified very, very clearly that future games, you'll be paying an extra $10 if you want to upgrade to the PS5 version. Moving forward, PlayStation first-party exclusive cross-gen titles, newly releasing on PS4 and PS5, both digital and physical, will offer a $10 USD digital upgrade option from PS4 to PS5. This will apply to the next God of War and Gran Turismo 7 and any other exclusive cross-gen PS4 and PS5 title published by Sony Interactive Entertainment. So you combine that with more of these, what they're doing with these digital, these deluxe editions and super deluxe editions and super awesome, amazing double deluxe Grand Poobah editions of their games, some of which contain one thing and some of which contain a different thing, and you have to pay exorbitant amounts of money if you want to own everything. Yeah, they're it's not just nickeling and diming you. They're 10 spotting you. Like they're really gouging.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and again, for some people, and again, this has been done before by lots of different companies. Even Bethesda, has been known to do this quite extensively, where they'll they've been doing this less and less. So this and I mean that by most companies have been doing this less and less. Remember the day when you had to go to Walmart, EB Games, Canada, EA Games, or not EA Games, what's the one? GameStop in the States, Walmart in the States, France, and in England, and you had to make all these orders to get absolutely everything that was collectible in the game. And you spend like $800 doing this. There were people I know who did this. And so, again, it's like we saw that, especially on PC and especially on Xbox for a little while. But now it seems to be mostly it seems to have mostly gone away on the PC front. And that I'm glad also seems to mostly have gone away on the Xbox front. But now it looks like it's back with a vengeance coming for, this. And I've heard some nasty rumors about God of War and the stuff that's coming up for that. So just kind of hold your prepare yourself for more nickel and diming and disappointment.
Yeah,
possibly. So,
well, here's the issue,
which is a shame because that game is amazing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's exactly the issue. It's not that these games are bad. I'm sure Horizon Forbidden West is amazing, but it's all of this extra stuff surrounding it. And we did see it over the, a couple of years ago. We were seeing it everywhere. And you had these big charts with, explaining all of the different versions of the game. You'd have these tables, or what were they called? These infographics that the companies were putting out. And we saw them for Anthem, and we saw them for some Bethesda titles, and it was ridiculous. It became a meme. It was so ridiculous. Thankfully, those seem to have gone away. But again, seeing graphics like this, it doesn't give me, this does not give me the good feels. And the thing is, Sony has gone all in on their first party exclusive titles. That's where their money's coming from. That's what they're banking on. That's their business model now, is just banking on these first-party exclusives. That's what they're banking on, getting people to buy a PlayStation. But the cost of entry now, if you want anything more than just the bare bones base version of the game, how do they think this is a good strategy for competing with Xbox?
Well, it's because they have two completely different motivations. Xbox and Microsoft are trying to corner the market on just like big value, like just like value for your money. You got $20 to spend a month on video games, you will get an unlimited number of stuff not an unlimited number, but you will have more stuff to play in a month on Microsoft than you could spend if you created a time dilation bubble and spent, a year, 2 years, and even sometimes 3 years playing all the games that they have going up for free there. So that's a great deal for those people. Now, obviously, you're not going to play every game. You're not going to enjoy every game that they have out, but they are getting just mass amounts. Sony, on the other hand, is really doubling down on this. They are going to offer only the best of these titles coming up. You want Horizon Horizon Forbidden West? That's that thing. You want the next God of War? That's there. And yeah, sometimes you're gonna be a month or two between major releases. Sometimes even more from the major releases that you're actually intending on playing. But it's going to be like that going forward. So, yeah, interesting. Very interesting. Almost as interesting as what they've done with their newest PlayStation machine. We want to.
Yeah, we'll get into that in just a second here. But I'll just say thank you, everyone, for listening in today. This is the Augmented Reality Podcast, and we love seeing everybody so active in the live chat. If you want to keep the conversation going after the live broadcast, we welcome you to check out our Discord server, where you can find all kinds of people to talk to with shared interests and stay up to date about everything we're doing here at the Triple S League, as well as finding people to game with, etc. So it's a fun place. Check it out. Link in the description below. You can find links to everything else there as well, including our Patreon, our merch store, our main channel, the Triple S League channel. This channel is Triple S Podcasts. So we are the Triple S League, but we do have a main channel called the Triple S League as well. So check that out. Find all the links below. And if you do come to the Discord, say hi in the welcome channel. It'd be good to hear from you. All right, so it is, as Saib mentioned, there has been a change to the PS5. They've done a revision on the PS5 that they are going to be shipping going forward. Well, actually, it's already been shipped out. And a YouTuber named, last name is Austin Evans. He's a tech reporter and YouTuber. Basically, he got one of these new units, compared it with the launch unit, and was trying to figure out why is the new one about 2/3 of a pound lighter than the original one. And it turns out it's because the heat sink, which is, if you're not all that familiar with hardware, it's the device that basically absorbs heat from from the CPU and the other internal components, and absorbs it and distributes it so that your internal components aren't overheating, is, in a nutshell how it works. And, I'm sure someone out there in our chat or Discord will explain it more in depth if you are interested in that. But basically,
it also
keeps from melting.
Yeah, it keeps things from melting. It also keeps the what are they called? The Xylons away. So yeah,
keeps yeah, that too. So anyway, but now Saib and I may actually have a difference of opinion on this. But anyway, so tech reporter Evans is arguing that this was a downgrade, and that it made the newest PS5s are basically worse than the original, and so it was like a stealth downgrade. Smaller heatsink, and he measured the heat of the exhaust coming out of the machine, and it was 5 degrees Celsius hotter. But not everyone agrees that this was actually a downgrade. Ars Technica argues that the new heatsink is arguably likely better. And here on Engadget, it says that they point out that Evans did not measure the temperature of the actual internal components, just the temperature of the exhaust coming out of the machine. So I think it's up in the air as to whether or not this is actually a downgrade, if perhaps the old heatsink was oversized, if maybe it didn't need that big of a heatsink. Maybe the new one is somehow just better or more efficient. And it seems to me, now correct me if I'm wrong, but if the exhaust coming out of the machine is 5 degrees hotter, doesn't that mean it's actually pulling more heat out of the system? Now,
No.
Like how does that?
No.
Well, then where are those extra 5 degrees coming from?
Because the machine is not being cooled that quickly. So instead of the engine, instead of the thing being held at a comfortable 32 degrees, let's say, the machine is building up more heat in the system and is now coming out at 38 degrees. You got to remember that the cooling system isn't an automatic thing that just blows, just starts blowing out, and that's the internal core temperature. If you had more heat sinks on it and more and more and more heat sinks on it, then you would be getting like closer down to like 20 degrees. Like there's some computers that use liquid cooling that sit around a comfortable like 5 degrees, and that's because it has better cooling, and the cooler your machine, the more efficiently.
Yeah, but that's because the heat is being distributed differently. Like that
kind of sounds like the entire thing to me, because it's like, I think of it like, you got a drink cooler with ice packs in it. If you take out more of the ice packs so you have less in there, it absorbs less of the heat, right? It's less cool.
Mm-hmm.
So if you put in more ice packs or a bigger heat sink, then it absorbs more of the heat.
Well, yeah, it would distribute it. A larger heat sink, in theory. I mean, it's all about distributing the heat, pulling it away from those critical components inside the machine, right? So, yeah, the hotter heat exhaust doesn't mean that the components inside are actually running hotter, or being that they're running hotter than they were before. In fact, it might
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure that's how science works.
No.
That's why the bigger the heatsink is always better. The larger your heatsink, the more it cools.
Okay, but the point I'm making is this: like, let's just look at the CPU for a second. Okay, the heatsink, is pulling heat off of the CPU. The heat is distributing. That is, just basic science. The heat distributes through all of the metal components. But then, you have the fans that blow the hot air that builds up out of your system. Like, the heat's got to go somewhere. It doesn't just disappear. The heat has to go somewhere. And yes, a larger heatsink will hold more than a smaller heatsink, but if both are at capacity already, then more heat leaving the system through the exhaust means that more heat is leaving the system. That's the point I'm making. Like, and that's also what.
No, because it's an oven. If you had enough cooling devices set up on an oven, you could turn the oven to 500 degrees. And again, if you had enough heat sinks and cool down reduction, stuff like that, the center of the oven wouldn't get higher than 10 degrees.
Only if the heat is being dispelled out of the system somehow. You can't just keep adding heat to the system. And like, the heat sinks can only hold so much. That's why you got fans that blow the hot air out.
Yeah, but again, it's like the machine is on all the time. And if you remove heat sinks to the point where it's getting hotter and it's sitting at a higher temperature, that's not more efficient. That's less efficient.
But it's not sitting at a higher temperature. That's the point they're making here on Engadget. he did not measure the temperature that the internal components are running at. He measured the temperature of the exhaust that was blown out of the machine. And that doesn't give you an accurate measure of how hot the components are running. So they're saying it's not necessarily worse. So just want to make that clear. I think, like I said, I think Sab and I have a difference of opinion about this. But anyway, well, I mean, I've talked a lot. You go ahead and share your thoughts, Sab.
It's bad. It's terrible. This is really bad. That's it. That's all. That's all I
In
got.
my thinking, like, the more hot it runs, the more damage is done to the hardware in general. So, like, and in combination with, like, the lighter weight, the heat sinks being decreased or diminished, I don't view it as a good thing. Because it's like, just because it's blowing more hot air, like, it means the overall area, immediate area even, it's like, it's running more warm. And I don't know. It doesn't compute. Doesn't compute to a good way for me.
Well, I mean, you're right that if the system, like if the components are running hotter, that is bad for it. That is bad for it. But, I mean, there's a couple of issues to consider here. And I don't want to just be, you know, I don't want to dump on Sony just because, yeah, they are doing some crummy things. But it's possible the size of the original heatsink wasn't necessary. Like,
Or it's possible that they upgraded the overall, like, quality of everything that they were doing. That probably fixed my sound, right? Anyways, they may have found a way to increase efficiency in general with their second build. But again, the removal of heatsink material, that's always kind of an eye-raising thing, because like when I was first like building computers, you know, and I was very young, and I asked, what's the heatsink for? And, you know, should we get a bigger heatsink or a smaller heatsink? The answer was always bigger. Always bigger. So again, they may have pulled off some magic here, but I suspect strongly that what they've done in actuality is cheapen the materials in general, cheapen the quality of the machine, and you know, to save money. Because again, if you're cutting, you know, 2/3 of a pound of copper out of your machines, and you're producing, like, you know, 5 million, 10 million, 30 million of them, that's a lot of money. That is an enormous amount of money. And that is huge. Like, copper is really expensive right now. So again,
well, this is where I think a lot of the suspicion was coming from, in that this is arguably cutting costs of producing the PS5 now. And this was correlated with a meeting that happened right around the same time, in which, you know, Sony reported that they were no longer selling their diskless units at a loss. And so perhaps this had something to do with that. The smaller heatsink costs less, and so they were no longer selling the digital-only PS5s at a loss. But and I see where people would look at that and be skeptical. But again, doesn't necessarily mean it's actually worse. I just want to make that clear. And also, someone's got to explain to me how, if the exhaust coming off of the machine is 5 degrees hotter, how that doesn't mean more heat is leaving the system. Because that's more heat in the exhaust being blasted away. So I don't know. We'll have to discuss that more later, and you'll have to explain to me how you reason that one outside, because that does not make sense to me. But Jasmine Greeno, I'm sorry, I don't know how to say your last name there, but Jasmine says, no word from Sony. I don't believe Sony has not given a direct comment on this, according to these reporters. So that's about all there is to say about that. I mean, if you're suspicious of it, you know, don't buy a new PS5. I guess. So,
Yeah, no, I stopped buying PlayStations at PlayStation 2. That's the most recent PlayStation machine I have.
so anyway, that's all we had for our main stories today, and we are only 45 minutes in. So, is there anything else we should talk about? Anything for those
Pathfinder, Wrath of the... Oh, sorry, you were asking the community. Yes. If you have any
questions. If you have...
questions.
Oh, yeah, okay. So, live chat, any topics, questions, comments you want to make, now's the time. We got 15 solid minutes before we're out of here. But anyway, yeah, go ahead, Side, while they're doing that.
So, Pathfinder. Wrath of the Righteous is out. It's a really good game. If you are interested in, like the old school ish, and by old school I don't mean the real old school, I mean the more recent old school of D&D 3.5. This game is a dream come true. It's vastly improved over top of the last Pathfinder game, where there was a fair amount of quality issues as far as like graphics and stuff go. It's not massively better, but it is better, and it is more interesting. So if you are in the shop for a new RPG, it doesn't have as much voice dialogue lines as I would like there to be, and I dream of the day that the community gets together and fix the two biggest issues in the game. One is the quality of the player character models in the game, and then the other thing is the lack of audio, of voiceover for the game. It's really lacking, and other than that, it's a very good game that is very expansive. It is different than Baldur's Gate because in this game you are seeing, sometimes you're seeing hundreds of units on the not hundreds of units, but you're seeing a lot of units on the map at the same time. You build an army, you build a city, you build an empire essentially, but at the same time you are a small hero running around on the field. So again, that's why the character models are not that great. In Baldur's Gate, you have fights with 5, 6, maybe 10, maybe 15 mobs at a time. This one, I mean, I had like a Game of Thrones final season standoff, protecting a base from an assault, and the bodies were piling higher and higher and higher because they just kept on coming. And I'm just like, I've killed 150 of these guys at this point before I finally figured out what I actually had to do to end the thing. And it was pretty cool because the first 2 times I failed, it just wasn't going. So I rebuilt my team a little bit, got a new character in, rotated some stuff out, and then I'm just slaughtering wave after wave after wave of enemies, and their body parts are blowing up, and they're just piling up on the right and the left, and it is just getting crazier. So stuff like that, that's cool. If you're interested in that, check that out. Psychonauts, Tara K wanted to shout out Psychonauts, has been getting rave reception from gamers, sitting at overwhelmingly positive right now after a string of late sequel disappointments. It's apparently better than the original. And yeah, I've heard that too. I have not had a chance to play it yet. Psychonauts is an interesting game that I typically avoid. There's some games that I just avoid for my mental sake, and this is one of them. But I'm not saying that it's a bad game. I'm just saying that it's just not for me. But
I'm interested.
I heard
It's on my wish list.
Yeah. Mooney's gonna pick that up and give that a try. So yeah, that and like I said, it's looking like it's a pretty decent system. Or a decent game.
All right, and Lady Reaver is wondering, is there any news about Vigilance 2099? And I don't know if you have any info about that side. I just looked up this article because I didn't have anything fresh on the top of my head. Apparently a third-person game heavily inspired by Blade Runner and the canceled Prey 2 game. So that would be the sequel to the original Prey that never happened. And then the other Prey that had nothing to do with the original Prey came out, and it was all confusing because that's what happens in game development sometimes. Second teaser trailer has been released, but I honestly don't know much about this. Vigilance 2099, an open world single-player action RPG. That sounds familiar. You'll play as a bounty hunter in a dense cyberpunk city. Players will earn money and customize their gear, explore the city with their vehicle by air or ground, or opt to traverse on foot. It'll have parkour elements as well as both third-person and first-person camera viewpoints. Interesting. Let's just... I'm going to watch this muted for a second here. Man, I'm just... Sorry, this looks really cool, but I'm just getting such Cyberpunk 2077 vibes. It's not even funny. It even says here, prototype footage, not final product.
I have heard some news about it, and it is one of the things that I am keeping my eye on. So,
So, anything, I don't know, anything to share that might not be in this article?
No, but I have to run to the bathroom. So.
Well, all right then.
I like the look of the environment.
Yeah, no, it looks really cool. I could go for a really good cyberpunk action game. I mean, that sounds kind of funny because there is a cyberpunk action game out there. It's called Cyberpunk 2077, but for some odd reason, that just does not appeal to me anymore. We'll see what they do with improvements to it, see what they do with the DLC, but even if they release a really good story DLC at this point, I'm not sure if I would be really interested in that. We'd have to see. I want to see deeper RPG elements in order to get back into that. Because if it's just more go around, go to this location, shoot, kill everything, hack some stuff.
It's too simple.
Yeah.
Like I like something with a little bit more of a reward, or at least even if I don't get a thing at the end, it's unlocking more lore, more story, more character depth. I'm looking at you, River. No depth whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, question from Dustin Pease in the chat. Is Vigilance the one with Yang Ye voicing the protagonist?
I have no idea. I'd have to look that
Also, hi, Sword Sister.
Yes, we are live, Sword Sister.
So I'm back.
Yeah, so I don't know if you know, Sai, but so Dustin just asked if Vigilance 2099 is the one with Yang Ye voicing the protagonist.
Could be.
So
it's one of the I had heard that he was working on a project. So yeah.
XMEX has an interesting question here. This will be an interesting one to end on because it's more philosophical. Is macro or specialized controllers / hardware cheating? Playing on an ultra-wide with unorthodox controllers that make certain things easier to input, that kind of a thing. That's a very good question because it's like asking, if you're running a race and you wear a special bodysuit that makes you more aerodynamic or makes your muscles function better or something. Is that cheating in the race? Which is, I guess, why they have wardrobe standards and stuff like that.
There was this was actually and sorry, I had to turn the fan on because it was getting upwards to 40 degrees in here. So yes, there was a big hubbub about this at one of the Olympic Winter Games a few years ago. Somebody had designed a skate that was a clicker, and it was a clicker because as you pushed off, the back part of the blade came out and pushed against the ice. and on they calculated it's basically like a 30% increase in strength when you were doing like speed skating on each thrust. So you're getting like 30% more force on each push. And like people who were neck and neck in previous competitions were decimated by people who had these versus people who didn't.
Right.
And they came in very early on, right before the Olympics were about to, not early on, very late in the game, right before the Olympics were about to go. And only a handful of people had it, but they had just approved them. So it was like one of those things where it was like, if you had it, you had a massive advantage. So there are things like that. And even when latex first came in as a latex and spandex, the more spandex more obviously than latex, but the spandex outfits making you more aerodynamic when they were first brought in, again, those were largely you saw a bump in overall performance as soon as people had their hands on those. So yeah, it's crazy. It's legitimately crazy.
It's an interesting
how much that can happen. Yeah.
It is a very interesting debate. And the question is, I mean, if you are, I mean, it makes a huge difference if you're playing multiplayer or single player. If you're playing single player, I think you can do whatever you want. And who cares? It's just your experience, your own fun. Unless you're competing in a speedrun competition or something, which is, again, something to consider, I suppose. But, it really becomes an issue with multiplayer. But you're always going to have it where, you know, if you have slightly better hardware, you're going to have a bit of an edge. It's not necessarily enough to... It doesn't necessarily, you know, might not be a massive edge. It might be like just a tiny edge, slightly faster frame rate, slightly faster, you know, ability to get that shot in. But, you know, you might have an edge if you're like particular, if you and some other guy shoot at exactly the same time, maybe yours goes through first, right? So that's always going to be an issue. But as far as, when it comes to input devices, I guess that's the question. Is it, well, it's available, it's out there, therefore it's legit to use? Or, you know, is it unfair play? But what do you think, Moon?
Well, if it's done in a competitive sense, there should be a certain kind of standard for the hardware being used, maybe. But, like, if you're playing for fun, like, then I think whatever you're comfortable with works, really. Whether you're playing it solo or multiplayer. But, like, if you're in a tourney, like, there should be some sort of standard, whether it's, like, provided by the tourney or, like, an agreed-upon thing by everybody. Yeah.
And these agreements should really come in and give people about a year to, like, catch up on stuff. So,
so context is everything, as with most things. Context is everything. Sure. I mean, obviously, if it's against the rules in a tournament and you use it anyway, well, obviously that's cheating.
Yeah.
But just playing online casually, I mean, you know, it might suck if your hardware is worse than everybody else's, and that kind of puts you at a disadvantage. But I don't know. I feel like I can't fault people for investing in better hardware and just being...
Well, this does actually bring up an interesting debate that I have been talking about for a very long time. I use a Merc Stealth keyboard. This is a keyboard that is no longer in production. It is probably one of the greatest things for a gamer. I have no idea why these are not standard amongst everybody who's a, air quotes, professional gamer. I have no idea why people who use a mouse and a keyboard, so obviously not the console professionals, but mouse and keyboard players, why they use a normal QWERTY keyboard setup for gaming is absolutely mind-boggling to me. I do not understand why or how they risk so much damage to their hand. Every time they're hitting Z with their pinky, they're risking a permanent injury that will leave their pinky nearly like completely useless. Why are people not using a custom hand print for their left hand mouse keyboard control? I don't understand. I have no idea why. I would surmise that the Rockefellers of keyboard industry have been like, no, we shall keep it like this for a long time. And I mean, not to mention that QWERTY is actually, it's designed to be slower to make you type slower. Like QWERTY designed keyboards are actually like very much a pain in the butt. It's we've gotten good at it because we can. Doesn't mean it's the best setup. There are always these competitions for like new keyboards where they introduce a whole bunch of new stuff, and it's like every time they do and somebody really commits to it, they learn how to do it. Just an amazing job, and they do outspeed other people. Moon, you have some experience with the keyboards that typists use.
Yes, I tried using a stenography keyboard.
Stenographer, yeah.
So like court caption writers, like what they do is they don't write in letters, but they write in sounds and phonetics. So like, you know, when you're spelling out a word, like I don't know, hello, you're not spelling out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 letters, but you're spelling out 2 keystrokes to make a word, right? And like it wasn't actually that hard to learn, although like it does take time, and especially if you have a target speed to get up to. But like anybody can learn it if they put their mind to it.
So
absolutely,
so
and you know what? Maybe it's that whole thing of, you know, we're used to a certain thing, so we stick with that thing. But yeah, seriously, moving your pinky underneath your hand to hit the Z key, that's just not. That's where you gotta rebind your keys at that point.
Mm-hmm. I prefer using a controller because it's just easier on my hands. Because like I've done like a lot of typing in my day, and I've got like bilateral tendonitis, and so it's just easier for me and more comfortable for me to like play games with a controller capability. So like I really enjoy controller supported games because of that.
Yeah. XMEX says something to think about: controllers for disabled people. If you ban them in competition, you basically ban disabled people when otherwise they would be on the same level using those devices. Right. And I mean, if you're talking about if you're talking about a control device that brings somebody to the same level, I mean, I think that's a different thing than if you're talking about, say a controller that, you know, just gives you, like, you push the buttons in a certain way and it like auto inputs a certain sequence of buttons that makes you do the best move in the game faster than anyone else can do it. Like something like that is I think different than, you know, a modified controller for someone who's disabled. I think there's different. You're talking about two different things there, in my opinion. You know what I mean? So I don't think, to say you have to use this kind of controller, not necessarily, you know. I guess the question becomes then, like, can a non-disabled person use the disabled person's controller if they want? Like, I don't know. I guess you'd have to look at the individual devices and be like, okay, is this bringing them to the same level, or is it offering some kind of advantage above that? But it might, or as you say, might give a non-disabled player advantage. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's... you'd have to go on a case-by-case basis, right? But I mean, if it gives a non-disabled player the advantage, why doesn't everyone just use those kinds of things? Like what Saib's talking about. Like, why don't we all have specialized, things that are designed for gaming rather than the mouse and keyboards that are, were just designed for office work?
That your mom uses in her office job. It's the same one. It's the same one, people. Wake up. The Rockefellers of the keyboard industry have consumed you. Wake up!
Now I do have, like, I have a gaming mouse. I have this one with the 12 buttons on the side that Cy mentioned to me. I think it's the same one you have. Plus I've got this gaming keypad that's ergonomic and has, you know, it's somewhat limited in the buttons it has, but, like, basically I can hit the cursor keys, I can hit various things without moving my hand, and that's always what I find, you know, that really slows you down when you're moving your hand around the keyboard. That's always going to slow you down if you're playing competitively. Or anyway, I just find it more comfortable to just have my hand resting in one place. Yeah. But so why not? Well, I mean, the people that want them do have those, right? So there you go. But yeah, geez. Why would you move your pinky to hit the Z key under your other fingers rather than rebinding it to something else? That baffles me.
Again, it's a serious issue.
Well, yeah,
and
that could
there's a lot of people don't even know about it. One of the injuries that kicks people out of permanent video gaming is injuries to their fingers and hands, and it's mostly caused by keyboards that are not ergonomically designed for your hand. And I mean, again, it's like most keyboards have a universal size, right? Unless it's a laptop thing, which is, you know, kind of condense it down even more. But it's like most gamers' hands are actually a lot bigger than the normal person who uses uses keyboards for office work, and by that connection, they're causing permanent harm to their hand. And it's like, again, it's like I like WASD. It's like the S is not directly below the W. So each time you're moving your finger, you're not moving it straight back. You're moving it straight back a little to the right, or to, you know, and your other fingers are meshed weirdly on an like, Google this image. It's really great. Merc Stealth keyboards have a custom handprint that can be used by people with bigger hands or smaller hands with ease, and all of the buttons are universally there, and you don't have to move your finger below you don't have to move your pinky below any of your other fingers to activate common use buttons. And again, it's like, why this is not standard, I will never know. It's so bizarre.
Interesting question. Interesting topic. But anyway, that about wraps it up for us. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today for the Triple S League podcast, or the Augmented Reality podcast presented by the Triple S League. I want to extend please, if you haven't yet, do slam that like button and subscribe. We really appreciate that. Plus, if you're listening live today, if you're not listening live, leave comments down below. All of that. If you are listening live, thank you so much for all of your conversation and the comments in the live chat today. So special thank you to our Patreon supporters and channel members who helped to make this content possible. You've seen their names appearing on the top of the screen throughout the podcast. Need to update that one because we've had some new ones over the past little while, so I'll be updating that soon. But thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. Check out our main channel, the Triple S League, for tons more types of content. And we hope you all have a good week, and take care of your health. Use ergonomic gaming equipment, and always, sit with good posture and all of that good stuff. Take care of your health so you can be gaming when you're 90. All right, everybody. Talk to you later.